The final fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Disney Obi-Wan series is the epitome of everything that is wrong with modern Star Wars.
And today we're going to explain why.
The first thing we need to talk about is how great a job the actors did with what they were given. Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor killed it. They always do. They are great. But that isn't the problem. The problem is the writing.
The biggest thing is this series didn't really have a reason to exist. It was made because they would make money.
Anything that happened in the series couldn't have a monumental effect on the later films because they were filmed years before. So Disney had to make a bunch of safe choices, and inevitably it meant that everything that happened in the series just wasn't important.
Now, having a fun side story that doesn't affect the overall lore isn't a bad thing. Look at the first season of The Mandalorian. It was just a fun story with interesting characters.
The problem is Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi are very important characters to Star Wars. You can't just run around doing things willy-nilly with them.
And because of that, there were some things in the Obi-Wan show that actively hurt Star Wars as a whole.
We're not gonna get into the context of the overall show, we're just gonna talk about the fight. In the fight, Obi-Wan has lured Vader to a planet and they're gonna have their big showdown.
To set the stage, Anakin has become Darth Vader. He spent the last 10 years hunting down every Jedi he can, killing them, training in the dark side, becoming even stronger.
Meanwhile, Obi-Wan has been hiding out for the last 10 years, not training, not fighting. He is not at the height of his power. In fact, he's much weaker.
And in the first half of this fight, we see that. It's great.
Darth Vader's only using one hand. He's parrying everything Obi-Wan could throw at him. He's outmatching him in the Force. It's very clear the difference in power. And this is important for more reasons than just the training difference. Darth Vader is the most intimidating figure in all of Star Wars. He's a badass. We have years of lore building him up to be this thing.
In A New Hope, Darth Vader is the main bad guy. Sure, it's revealed that Palpatine is his master, but even then, Darth Vader is the main threat to our heroes.
At the time of their meeting in A New Hope, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi hadn't met for years, and it was very clear that Darth Vader was much more powerful than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan knew that he was going to his death. He knew there was no way he could match Vader, but it was important to him to let Luke and the rest of them get away. He made a noble sacrifice.
And that's why the second part of the fight actively hurts Star Wars lore.
After the first part of this fight, Obi-Wan gets crushed under a bunch of rocks. Vader thinks he's killed Obi-Wan. This is actually the perfect time for the series to end. Obi-Wan has been defeated because he's not as powerful as Vader. Vader has been held up as the most powerful Force user in possibly the entire galaxy. He is the main big bad threat. He thinks Obi-Wan is dead, so he has a reason to stop hunting him.
These are the perfect set of circumstances leading into A New Hope.
But because Disney wants to make the good guy always win, they ruin this. Obi-Wan saving himself under the rocks is fine, but then him coming back and overpowering Vader not only as a lightsaber fighter, but in the Force is ridiculous. If Obi-Wan could have killed Vader a second time, why wouldn't he just do it? It undercuts the entire second meeting they have. If Obi-Wan knows he's bested Vader now twice, why would he ever fear fighting him again? It's almost like Obi-Wan just wanted to die and showed up and was like, hey, I could kill you, but it'd be really fun if you just killed me and I turned into a Force ghost for no reason.
And Darth Vader wouldn't just forget about it and move on. He would spend the rest of his life hunting down Obi-Wan, who's on the planet right next to where they're fighting right now.
This whole turn of events makes no sense. It's just something some writers came up with because they wanted to have a fun fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And honestly, I don't like the fact they did that at all, but if they were gonna do that, Vader needed to win. He needed to be the big bad guy. And this is the problem with most of the new Star Wars writing. It looks at what fun little story can we make now, and it often actively hurts the overall arc and the overall characters.
It's clear that the writers were trying to make a callback to Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan defeats Anakin and leaves him for dead.
But it doesn't make sense in this case, because he's already done this once, so it undercuts Vader's character again, making him less of a threat, and Obi-Wan understands how dangerous Darth Vader is. Would he really just leave him? Looking at Vader defeated, crumpled, panting on the ground is just pathetic. Darth Vader is supposed to be strong, and he needs to be a threat. That's his whole role in Star Wars, is to be this menacing presence. If Obi-Wan could have defeated him that easily, then he should have done it years ago, and we wouldn't even have A New Hope. Roll credits.
We can already hear all of you screaming in the comments that he didn't defeat him easily, he was overpowered the first time, and he only drew upon the power to defeat him in the second half because he was fighting for the future of the galaxy, to protect Luke and Leia. That was the only way he overcame his weakness and grew powerful enough to defeat Vader the second time.
I'm tired of anime power of friendship in my Star Wars. This also happened in the sequel trilogy, where all of a sudden, oh, I'm so weak, but the power of friendship, it's stupid. It's a dumb trope. It's really lazy writing.
But I hear you screaming, Luke did it in Return of the Jedi.
Ah, but this is different for a very important reason. Vader taunts Luke, saying that he's gonna go after his sister, and Luke draws upon his emotions to become more powerful to defeat Vader. But this is important because Luke uses his anger. He gives into the dark side, but then he's able to pull himself back. This is an important storytelling tool, not just, I'm more powerful because of friendship.
Haha! So that was our take on the lore implications. Now we should move on to the actual fight itself.
So for Disney standards, this isn't the worst fight. Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor always do a good job. I would like to know how much time they were given and who did the choreography, because it's not quite up to the standard of the prequels, but I'm guessing, as with other Disney productions, they weren't given a whole lot of time to do this choreography.
That said, in the first half, it's pretty good. It shows the power dynamic between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan.
The biggest problem I have with this fight is Disney's insistence on doing this crazy camera work. It's all shaky cam, close-ups, crazy drone shot. You can't follow the fight that's going on, and I wish they would just let them cook like they did in the prequels and in the original trilogy.
The choreography in the first half was actually pretty decent. Other than all of the cutaways and shaky cams, they still had their fun spins and Hollywood binds, but overall, it was pretty solid.
In the second half, though, it doesn't make any sense. The power dynamic completely shifts immediately. All of a sudden, Vader is a wimpy little baby, and Obi-Wan's overpowering him. Where did all the strength he just had go? How was Obi-Wan able to overpower him that easily?
The massive change in the dynamic of power is just too great to be explained away by the power of friendship.
All of a sudden, Vader's moves are slow and sluggish, and the power that he had moments ago is easily deflected and suppressed by Obi-Wan. It's just not good.
Now, it's easy to be a critic, so how would we go about improving it?
Well, the crazy thing is they had the entire recipe for success, they just added too much to it. That moment when Obi-Wan is crushed underneath the Rebel, or even right before that, there was a beautiful moment for Vader to still have his reveal, to still have that emotional moment. He could remove his own mask and tell Obi-Wan that Anakin's death is not your failure, Obi-Wan. He could still do all of these things, but instead, they had to have the good guy win and the bad guy lose. And that actively undermined Star Wars.
The way that this could have been improved is by simply making Darth Vader more powerful.
Darth Vader is one of the most iconic villains to ever grace the silver screen. There's a reason the people love him. But in order for him to keep that status, he has to be powerful, he has to be dangerous. But having Obi-Wan defeat him not once, but twice in the same way after he's actively not trained at all for 10 years while Vader has been carving a path of destruction across the galaxy, it undercuts his character so badly.
And it actively ruins their meeting in A New Hope. It takes away all of the stakes.
And this is the problem with Disney Star Wars, a disrespect for the overall arc of the series. Too many times they've introduced something new, gone back on something old, or inserted something that actively takes away from the original movies that all of this came from. The original Star Wars trilogy is the highest order of canon. It's the movies that we all grew up and fell in love with. Anything that actively contradicts them doesn't work.
What makes it more disappointing is it's not like they can't get it right. Look at Rogue One.
Rogue One is the perfect case study for what I'm talking about. It takes a part of Star Wars that wasn't actively explained in the films. Yeah, there was some other lore, there was Kyle Katarn and other things, and I personally liked that, but Rogue One filled in that gap in a way that was both entertaining and didn't damage Star Wars as a whole. It's a perfect way to tell new stories in between the films.
Star Wars, The Clone Wars, the animated series mostly did that same thing.
Honestly, The Clone Wars, the animated series is one of the reasons that we even like the prequels, because if you don't remember when they came out, they weren't the best.
We all love it because of the work the show did to flesh out those characters.
When the prequels originally came out, they weren't received well. The dialogue was pretty rough and a lot of people didn't like it.
It's only after years and years of filler content like books or the animated shows that people have gone back and looked at them favorably.
But the reason the animated Clone Wars and Rogue One are good is because they respect the original films and the source material, and they don't make major contradictions.
Despite the strange, interesting camera work, the first part of the fight was actually pretty good. We enjoyed it.
In fact, I would say that it would have been a positive addition to Star Wars. It made Vader look even more menacing and powerful, and it showed how outmatched Obi-Wan was. This would have made their meeting in A New Hope even more tense and highlighted the fact that Obi-Wan was sacrificing himself for Luke.
They had it. They were so close, and then they threw it all away.
Disney is so addicted to happy endings where the good guy wins that they didn't see how close they were to making something that actually was pretty great. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider supporting the channel for as low as $1 a month. It's a huge help and helps us keep making more videos like this one. You can also check out sellswordarts.com for links to training, gear, and all sorts of other stuff.